Gators, and sports fans. Get all your Gator talk, news, analysis, and opinions on the Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning podcast. Find us on your favorite podcast platform or watch us on Facebook Live between 8 a.m. and 9 a.m. every weekday. Pod Up, because we are Gator fans. So say it's great to be a Florida Gator.
Rise and shine. It's a Thursday edition of Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Right there, folks. Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Got a good show lined up for you today on this Thursday edition. We're going to kick it off here shortly with Kassidy Hill. She covers the Gators, also the Jacksonville Jaguars for Sports Illustrated and the Jaguar Report. Second portion of the show, we'll be joined by Gator Great wide receiver Jabar Gaffney. I tell you what, I'm a little tired today. I'm still not sleeping well for whatever reason due to all this uncertainty, I guess, with college athletics. So anyway, got to wake up here. I'm not a coffee drinker. But we're going to battle through this hour. And we're going to go now to the Titan Mar hotline. And we're going, as I mentioned, we're going to be joined by Kassidy Hill. She does some work for Gator Great Media. She also is a reporter for SI Now and the Jaguar Report. But we're going to talk a little college football with her first. Good morning, Kassidy. How are you?
Good morning, Shane. I'm good. How are you?
Doing well. Before we get into what's going on in this world, you know, I'm always interested with female reporters, how they got into the business. How'd you get into it, Kassidy?
Well, I just kind of fell in love with it at a young age. I'm from Alabama, and, you know, like many places in the South, you just kind of are surrounded by college football at all times. And it's not a matter of if you loved it, but just how much. Right. And really enjoyed just telling people stories as well and just hearing more about them. And in high school, I joined the newspaper staff, and the first day my editor asked, what do you want to cover? And I'd never even really thought about it, but without hesitation, I said, I want to cover sports. And I spent the next 3 years doing that, and I knew that that's what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I enjoy hearing from athletes. You know, they're wired so differently than the general population, I guess. And it's fascinating to me what drives them. And I just enjoy kind of being that conduit there to help them tell their story. And like I said, have been doing it ever since. Went to Alabama to pursue it. Got to cover a national championship while I was there as a student reporter. And I was hooked. I knew that this is what I was going to be doing.
Good stuff. Yeah, you hit it right on the head. Athletes are wired differently. There's no question about that.
Right.
So, let me get your thoughts on what's going on in college football right now. Obviously, we all know about the Big Ten and the Pac-12. Are you surprised at what they did? And do you think these other three Power Five conferences, the SEC, Big 12, and ACC, are going to end up kicking it off here the end of September?
I guess I'm a little surprised just because of how far they went into actually attempting to put on a season, especially with the Big Ten, to have released a schedule, to have the guys at practice. I mean, we always knew there was a chance that football would not be played this fall. But to get so close and to almost kind of give all those athletes hope and then to rip it away, and especially the way the Big Ten did it, there just never seemed to be any communication at all from top to bottom. And that was within the conference. But then also they were so independent from the rest of the Power Five. You know, they were the first to cancel spring. They were the first to go to conference only for the fall. And so on one hand, you're kind of like, well, if they were also the first to cancel completely, are the other conferences going to fall in line? But I think by this point, the rest of the Power Five, and especially the SEC, the ACC, and the Big 12, are so frustrated with the way the Big Ten just sort of did everything already and sort of forced their hand that they're like, you know what, we can actually make our own decisions here. And our doctors are telling us it's okay. There's nothing that we don't know about the virus now that we didn't know 3 weeks ago. And, you know, I know the heart issue has been brought up, the cardiomyopathy, I believe it's called, that can result from it. They've tried to account for that as much as possible by adding in the heart scans with the testing. And so I think as long as the Big 12 stays on board and says we want to play, then the SEC and the ACC are for sure going to play as well. Will we get a full season, or, you know, it's a shortened season anyways? Will we get even that 10-game season? That remains to be seen, but I think they at least get to the first game. And if they can get through that first game and there's not a spike in cases, then we'll see the second game, so on and so forth. And so that being said, I guess I'm not too surprised that the Big Ten and eventually the Pac-12 pulled the trigger. They were kind of leaning towards that. Seems like all the way back since March. But at this point, I think that the other three are so frustrated that they were like, we're going to do our own thing. We're not going to let you keep forcing our hand. And I think we could see a lot of possibly even conference realignment from this. And with the way that the schools and even the players have been left to handle it themselves without any direction from the NCAA, which is supposed to be the governing body, I think we might even see this could be the beginning of the end of the NCAA.
Yeah, no doubt. We're speaking with Kassidy Hill here on the Titan MR hotline. You can follow her on Twitter at Kassidy G Hill. Kassidy, you brought up the cardio, whatever. I'm not smart enough to pronounce it, but
my mom's a nurse, and I had to call her and be like, "Can you please just tell me how to say this word?"
Yeah. So, you know, I will say this: I don't know if Florida's more advanced than other schools in the country, or if every school in the SEC does this. But Florida's been doing all these heart cardiology type tests for years. And I know they've been doing them for several months now. So I don't know if we're ahead of the curve, more ahead of the curve than the Big Ten. But let me ask you this, because I know you do a lot of work for Gator Great Media. And I know you did a story talking to parents that have kids on the team about their concerns about possibly playing with the coronavirus out there. Do you mind sharing what you heard from some of the parents?
Not at all. And real quick, just something you mentioned about, you know, is UF ahead of the curve? You're absolutely right. And maybe that's because having access to Shan and some of the best doctors in the country, but they have been doing those heart scans for a while. That's exactly why Randy Russell's heart condition was caught so early. You know, I don't know how many people know the story, but Randy Russell came to play football at Florida and had a heart scan as part of his just physical to get on the practice field. And they found a heart condition that he never knew he had. And it's why he's not playing, but Dan Mullen still, you know, said, stay on the team, keep your scholarship, be a part of our team. But yeah, they've been doing it this whole time. But as you're talking to the parents, yes, we got to speak to you, Shane, and then a couple others. And it was kind of interesting. And you even said it when we spoke, and it ended up being true, that you had a different point of view probably than a lot of people just because of your proximity to the program. And I kind of found that to be the case, that those who live farther away, who maybe don't know as much about it, are a little bit more worried, and understandably so. And it seems like, this is just my opinion from what I could tell kind of talking to everyone, that UF has done as much as they can to be open and to give parents every bit of information that they can. You know, they had a Zoom call with parents with Dan Mullen and Scott Strickland. But some are still worried, and I don't even think it's necessarily UF's fault. It's just that there are so many questions that nobody has answers to, including those at the very, very top. And I think they're searching for those, and they're trying to find them as much as possible. But you do have some parents that, like I said, that live a little bit farther away, that maybe aren't as familiar with the UF program, and they're worried because they don't know what they're sending their son back into. They didn't know how often they were going to be tested. We have since figured out that they get tested, I think, 3 times a week or something like that. And they weren't sure what was going to be going on. Could there be any sort of bubble created? And I think that was the biggest thing, and you and I even talked about it as well. That was the most consistent concern, it seemed, that every parent had that I spoke to. Could we create some sort of bubble? And I know that doing that within college athletics seems difficult because of the campus. And, I hear it all the time on Twitter. Well, what about the classes? These guys are going to have to go to classes, da-da-da-da-da. From what I've heard so far, everyone that I've spoken to has said that their classes for fall at UF are going to be virtual until further notice. That's not a UF-wide mandate, but teachers are saying we're going to be virtual. My class, at least for now, is going to be on Zoom. And so in theory, if all of the classes are doing that, UF at least could create somewhat of a mini bubble, because if these other students that aren't athletes, if their classes are virtual as well, they might just stay home and not come back. And so if that continues to be the case, I think you almost could create a small bubble. Like I said, that did seem to be the biggest concern among parents. And then, again, just wanting more answers, but unfortunately they're answers that not everybody has right now. But it does seem the more you kind of know how close the school is to Shands and what all goes into it, there is a bigger comfort level among the parents.
Yeah, and we've had another parent Zoom meeting since then, and the testing that's going to go on is ridiculous. I'm talking about it's going to be so much testing going on that there's nobody going to be within that football team that doesn't know if they have it. And if they do have it, they're going to be the right way. But you're right. I don't think college athletes here at Florida will be going to actual class. I think they'll be doing everything online. Now, the regular students, I'm not sure of, but that is a way that, there's a way of doing a bubble if they really wanted to or thought they needed to. But, I do know that the football team is somewhat in a bubble right now. They'll supposed to start training camp on Monday. Usually they go to a hotel. I don't know if they're still doing that this year or not. But with all the protocol going on, I'm pretty sure more parents are a little more at ease, if you can even say that, after this last call, because every SEC school has to do the same testing, and it's X amount of times a week. It's this day before a game. So, I think when you talk about the SEC, the teams you're going to be playing should be pretty safe if we get to play. We're speaking with Kassidy Hill here on the Tight Number Hotline. So, Kassidy, let's also talk. You cover the Jaguars as well, and I'm just curious. And I don't even know if y'all are allowed to do interviews, or if the interviews right now are done virtually or what have you. But what's the feel like with the NFL players being in training camp right now?
They're excited. I think they're pumped just to be back on the field. There was always kind of a sense, I think this is so random, but my grandma asked me back in April, are they going to play? And I said, you would think on paper that the NFL would cancel before college because the NFLPA would step in. But if anything, the NFL will play before college because the NFLPA will step in and set some protocols. And that's exactly what happened. So they prepared for this 2 months ago. I was out at practice yesterday, and there were so many protocols in place. We had to stand 15 feet apart. Everyone had to have masks on the entire time, which in 97-degree heat in Florida was interesting. And even at one point, a reporter, just not even thinking, it's just habit when you're out there, leaned back against one of the tackling bars, and somebody immediately stepped up and said, could you lean off of that? The players are going to have to touch it later. Wow. So there's so much in place just to keep them safe. Trainers switching gloves before handing a water bottle to a second guy. And so they know that they're safe. So that being said, they're just excited to get back on the field. And it's a little bit of a different style right now because the way training camp has been stretched out to account for more flexibility in case there are positive tests. So right now it's a lot more of an OTA style practice, no pads, very little contact, a lot more individual conditioning work, not a whole lot of what I would call team drills, which are like the 7-on-7, shell. There's not a whole lot of that right now. And with the Jaguars specifically, they have a ton of young talent, a ton of Florida Gators as well. And so they might be another year or two off, but I think they're excited about what they can build as a foundation this year because they know they've got talent filling in at every spot that they had lost the past couple of years. And they know they've got their quarterback. And yes, he's young, and yes, there's still a lot to learn from Gardner Minshew. But I think once you finally know for sure who your quarterback is, you know who your team is. And that was a question they had last year. That's the question they've had the past few years. And, whether it'll work long term, I know there's still a lot of pundits that think the Jags will be picking Trevor Lawrence #1 overall next year. But at least for right now, they feel confident in Gardner Minshew, and they know that there's not a quarterback battle in this particular training camp at least. And they can prepare knowing who their guy is. And that changes the whole personality of a team when you know who your guy is.
Refresh your vehicle and your brand with a vehicle wrap from Wrap Spot. August is your lucky month at Wrap Spot. Mention promo code Shane and receive 13% off your vehicle wrap. We're speaking with Kassidy Hill. Got a few more minutes with her. You can follow her on Twitter at Kassidy G Hill. So I want to go back to you going out to Jaguar practice because I'm pretty sure from a media standpoint, well, obviously most college practices these days are closed, but I don't even think they're going to allow them to come in and watch stretch and all that kind of stuff. I think they're going to have to do interviews virtually. I don't think they're going to allow anyone around these players because of the testing protocol. So did the Jaguars, were you tested, or just because it's outside and you're so far away from the players, you're allowed to go in and watch practice?
Right. So I did have to submit an entire, usually when you request access, it's just shooting an email to the SID or with professional sports, the PR people saying, hey, I'm coming, this is my outlet. Instead, a couple of weeks ago, everyone had to fill out a survey with information that had to be submitted to the NFL for approval. And then you had to submit a request the day before you go to practice. And it's because there can only be a certain number of people there each time. And so, usually you might have 3 people from the same outlet. Well, right now it's just one person per outlet because there can only be, I think, grand total of 17 media members, just because they have to be stretched out. And then the morning of, you have to complete a health survey. In the past 24 hours, have you had problems with fever, runny nose, headaches, sore throat, aches and pains, anything like that? And if you have, somebody will call you to ask more extensive questions. But if you haven't, you get another approval, and then when you get there, you have to have your temperature taken. And if it's, above what it's supposed to be, then you can't go in. And then, usually after a camp or any practice, college or pro, media is just done right there on the field. And you kind of surround the players, and it's a little scrum or a gaggle, with probably 12 reporters all scrunched in together right around this one guy. But instead, about 15 minutes before practice ended, one of the PR people just walked down the sidelines and said, hey, 15 minutes and Gardner will come straight off the field and go to the room. And so we hightailed it out of there, and I went and set up somewhere with my computer because the media afterward was still virtual. They have a little room set up for them with a camera and a monitor and a backdrop. And as of now, until further notice, all media will be done virtually that way. And So it's kind of interesting, just like, well, do I want to stay and get the last 15 minutes of practice but miss the media, or do I want to go ahead and get out of here and go ahead and get my computer set up so that I can get ready for that? So that's definitely a different aspect of practice in the time of COVID. And like you said, I don't know if we'll even be able to get out to college training camp at all to see it in person. I hope there's some media availability just because we're running out of stories. But I imagine that if there are, they will be done virtually afterwards, kind of like the pros are doing.
We got a Facebook Live comment here brought to you by Melton Law, where you matter most. Jeff says he saw a headline yesterday in the Miami Herald that a UF experiment detected the virus from a distance of 20 feet. That's the first I've heard of that. Have you heard of any of that, Kassidy?
I have not. I know that they say it can travel 6 feet. I guess in certain situations it could travel even farther. A lot of the NFL teams have a monitor that they wear, sort of like a watch. And if they get within 6 feet of someone, it beeps and you have to back up. But the 20 feet, I'll have to look into that. I have not heard that yet. Because that certainly would be a game changer as far as just for everyone, not even athletes, but just everyone, having to social distance even a little bit more.
No doubt about it. Well, Kassidy, let everybody know, you do so much work for, like as I said, for the Jaguars, with the Gators, how they can check out everything you do. Yeah,
you can check out Gator Bait magazine or GatorBaitMedia.com for everything with the Gators. It's a once a week big edition with a bunch of different stories, and then obviously breaking news during the week, as well as some videos during the season on Gator Bait TV, which is all on GatorBaitMedia.com. And then for the Jaguars, you can just go to Sports Illustrated or SI.com/Jaguar Report. And that is stuffed with stories every day, especially now during training camp. I think we had like 7 yesterday. So it's constant updates from players, stories, and breaking news.
Well, Kassidy, we appreciate you taking the time. Be safe over there when you're covering those Jaguars, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Shane. Have a good day.
That's Kassidy Hill. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. At Center State Bank, we put business first. We are the largest community bank in the state of Florida, and understand that small businesses need a community business partner that they can rely on. Center State has 5 convenient Alachua County locations to serve you better. Center State Bank, member FDIC. We're going to take our first time out of the program. When we come back, we're going to be joined by old number 10, Jabar Gaffney, Gator Great receiver. You're watching and listening to Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Hey Gators, this is Coach Steve Spurrier. Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Area Rug Masters, your number one choice in Gainesville for all your area rug cleaning services. Melton Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Center State Bank, Gator Bait Media, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Gators Dockside, Okido America Martial Arts and After School, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Radware, Style Cuts, Wrap Spot, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Chris Doring Mortgage, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Darshakow Insurance, Pomodoro Cafe, MB Listings, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, Cornerstone Financial Group, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Master, 84 Lumber, and Gainesville Neon and Signs. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click the advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us. Welcome back to this Thursday edition of Pot Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. Large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration points where the Gators come to celebrate with premium brands like Bass Pro Shop, Tommy Hilfiger, Hotel Indigo, Nike, Medici's, Regal Cinemas, and coming soon, the HBC's new restaurant, Spurrier's Gridiron Grill, and Visor's Rooftop Bar. We will see you at Celebration Point where the Gators come to celebrate. I want to thank Kassidy Hill joining us, talk a little bit about the Jaguars and the Gators. Now we're going to go back to the Titan MR hotline, and we're joined by Gator Great receiver, Jabar Gaffney. Good morning, Jabar. How are you, my man?
Good morning. I'm doing great. How's it going?
Doing good, man. Hey, appreciate you taking the time during this crazy pandemic. I've had tons of former players from not just the Gators, but other universities join us, and I like to go back to their younger days. You know, you went to Jacksonville Reigns, which always has good athletes coming out of there. Were you strictly a football player growing up, or did you play multiple sports?
I played multiple sports growing up, and in high school I played football, basketball, baseball, and ran track.
Okay.
In middle school, I was on the swim team and tried soccer, so I was always at everything.
Well, talk about you won the state championship, I believe, for the Reigns Vikings your senior year. I want to say you had the game-winning catch in Florida Field, right? Yep.
That was my junior year. We won the state and the game-winning touchdown that year.
Who did y'all beat?
We beat Belle Glades. Belle Glades Center.
All right. We got your former coach, Coach Double D, is listening right now. So be careful what you say about Coach D.
Nothing bad to say about him. What's up, Coach D? He's the man.
So, Jabar, let's talk about this. When you had a great career, all high school, All-American, all that kind of stuff. When you were coming out of high school, was it Florida Gators all the way, or were you looking at other schools? Who else did you visit?
Well, actually, the truth be told, when I was coming out, I wanted to go to Georgia. Just because my favorite colors were red and black, and they had a G on their helmet. So I was like, oh, that's perfect for me. My last name Gaffney, red and black. So that would be Georgia wouldn't offer me a scholarship because they say that they knew I was going to Florida. But other than that, I was pretty much Florida all the way. I was almost going to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh had me kind of sold a little bit, but then I got a call from Coach Spurrier, and it was like, all right, yeah, I'm going to Florida.
So who is responsible I'm trying to think in the Jacksonville area, what coach that from the Florida staff was the main recruiter for you?
Spurrier Jr.
Oh, Bubba? Okay. I got
you.
Yeah,
Bubba, he was down there recruiting us.
So when you look at your Gator career, Coach Spurrier, he can remember everything. And I think a lot of Gator fans, when they think of the great receivers and the great teams at Florida, they think of obviously the 96 national championship team with Danny at quarterback, and then you had the three guys at receiver with Quezzy, Ike, and Riedel.
Right.
What people don't realize is Coach Spurrier, he really doesn't say who he thinks is the better trio, but with Rex at quarterback, you, Richelle, and Taylor Jacobs, y'all put up some numbers, my man. It was fun to watch.
Yeah, we did a lot out there. It was a lot of fun. I know we get a lot of comparisons between us and the 96 trio, and I don't know, they did some good things, but I know we put up some good numbers. We were pretty good out there.
Let me ask you this, because I've asked the other receivers that I've had on here, and I'm curious what your answer is. Every receiver is wide open on every play. They want the damn ball.
Right.
So, I felt like Coach Spurrier did a tremendous job while I played, and then just watching how he designed plays for certain players. Did you, between you, Taylor, and Richelle, did y'all ever bitch and complain that you weren't getting the ball enough, or were you upset that Richelle caught X amount of balls this game and you only caught like 2 or 3? Were y'all, I don't want to say selfish players, but receivers want to catch balls. But Coach Spurrier did a pretty good job spreading it around, didn't he?
Yeah, he did a real good job of spreading it around, and nobody ever left the game unhappy because everybody had their chances and touching the ball, and he made sure everybody got their touches. And we were all always out there just rooting for one another and used that as like internal competition between us. Like if I did something, caught a pass, caught a touchdown, and they wanted to catch a pass and a touchdown and try to outdo one another. So it was all friendly competition, but we all wanted to always see each other catch passes and do well out there.
Now I want to go back. You said you thought about or wanted to go maybe play at Georgia, but you got a family history of people playing for the Gators.
Right.
So you didn't grow up being a Gator?
I didn't become a real Gator fan until my junior year in high school. Before that, I was a Seminole. I'm afraid to say I was a Seminole fan, and it was actually that '98 year down in Bill Campbell. I went to that game, and I don't know, just something about how Florida was throwing the ball around that day. It was just like, you know what, I want to go to Florida. And then seeing Ike and Riedel and Quiz out there, I was like, yeah, those guys, they get the ball a lot. I'm gonna go out there and play in that fun and gun.
Yes, indeed. We're speaking with Jabar Gaffney here on the Titan MR hotline. So Jabar, let's talk about, gosh, I can't remember what year it was, the catch at Tennessee.
2000.
You did catch it, right?
Yeah, I caught it. We got the touchdown. We won the game.
Yeah. Who was that? Jesse at quarterback?
Yeah, that was Jesse.
I remember Jesse. I had Jesse on a couple of months ago, and he talked about that. Just talk about what game in your mind in your college career stands out the most to you.
Probably that Tennessee game. That Tennessee game up there in Rocky Top. That was a battle. That was a battle, man. They were good, and somehow we were able to hold it together and pull it out at the end. And that kind of like jump started my career and let me know like what SEC football is all about.
You know, there's always that one or two games after you're, old like me. I'm 50 now, but you sit back and you think, man, if that game would have gone a different way, what would have happened? That has to be, what was it? Was it 2000 or 2001, the Tennessee game that got rescheduled?
Yeah.
If Florida wins that game, y'all probably play for the national title.
Right.
Does it haunt you now?
And I think about that all the time. 32-27. I can't believe we lost that game in the swamp. If we would have played them on time, in September 11th, 9/11 would have never happened, man. And I know we were ready for them that week, man. It probably wouldn't have been close. And I don't know, for whatever reason, man, it didn't work out for us there. But if I believe we would have played that game on time, then it would have been going to the national championship. Because we would have had to play LSU in the SEC championship game, which we had blew them out earlier that year, and wouldn't have been any chance of them beating us again.
So, Jabar, before we talk about your NFL career, let's go back, talk a little about Double D, Coach Dwayne Dixon. Man, if you sit here and if you look down the list of receivers that he coached at Florida, it's crazy. Just talk a little bit about what he did for you as a coach that you were able to take to the next level.
He did everything for him, man. He taught us how to really become a receiver, how to learn the game and how to put distractions out. I know, like, before every game, the night before every game, he used to get all the receivers together and he would like have us close our eyes and we'd meditate and he'd just go over the game and have us like playing the game in our head before we even play the game. And we'd get to the game and like everything he was saying and what we was thinking, like that's just how to work out in game situations. But he taught us how to like focus in, and he was a real like perfectionist and when it came to route running and catching the ball. So like he showed us all kind of things. Like the dude, he had us catching bricks and standing like 3 feet away from the jugs machine and firing the balls at us. And like he would stand up there and do it as an example for us. Like he'll stand there and let that ball come out 100 miles an hour and hit him dead in the chest. Like he just can't be afraid. So and we always look forward to Wednesdays with him because it's hump day. And hump day, he always come out there and he's dancing and getting us hyped in the warm-up line. So just brought that funness to the game, and that showed us how to prepare mentally so that the game was for us. We
got a text here on the Titan MR text line. It's from Jim. Jim wants to know, Jabar, what receiver did you look up to or want to be while you were, I don't know if he's referring to while you were a kid or in college. What was that one receiver that you wanted to be like?
At Florida, I wanted to be like Jack Jackson. I like Jack Jackson when I was growing up. He was like the little showman out there. He was always dancing and celebrating and all that stuff. But the receiver that I idoled growing up was Jerry Rice. I always wanted to be like Jerry.
Yeah, he's a good one, no doubt about it. So you get drafted, I want to say, by the Houston Texans, if I'm not mistaken. You play for the Texans, you play for the Patriots, you play for the Broncos. You know, just talk about the difference that you had, or not so much the issues you had, but I mean, we all have an adjustment when we go from college to the pros. Doesn't matter if you play in the SEC, which is the best football there is, it's still an adjustment. What was the biggest adjustment you had to make once you got into the National Football League?
Learning that it was a business, learning the business side of it. Growing up, playing football, you never know nothing about money or business. You're just doing it for fun. Even in college, it's all for fun. And then leaving that college atmosphere and going to the NFL thinking like it's like everything else, and it wasn't. You got to go to meetings and you learn that you're there from like 6 or 7 in the morning till 4 or 5 at night, and it's like, and it's a real job. It's a real job, and had to learn that. Had to learn that, and then also had to adjust to losing and being okay with it. Because at Florida, we didn't really lose much, and then in NFL, I mean, not too many teams have undefeated seasons or 1 or 2 loss seasons, so that was a big adjustment.
You know, that's a great point you just brought up, because I think sometimes you forget about that. You know, in the NFL, it is a business. You ain't going to win every game, and you lose, it's going to bother you, but it's a business, and you got to get ready for the next week. Whereas when you lose in college, it's like the end of the world. Your season's pretty much over.
Right.
And that does go overlooked a lot. I'm glad you brought that up. Did you have because Coach Spurrier, everybody thinks his offense is so complicated, but it was so simple. It was complicated, but simple.
Right.
Some of these NFL teams, offenses, let's be honest, they're complicated as hell, and they're wordy. Was it difficult for you sometimes to learn the offenses because of the length of the way you call them in the huddle? Maybe from a receiver standpoint, you're just listening for one word or one number. But some of these West Coast, stem to east, right, close zing, scat 3, 22, Y stick, I'm like, all that to throw a 5-yard out route.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah, exactly. You're exactly right. And that's exactly what I did. I try to key out all that other stuff and just listen to what I need to hear for that part to see if it's a running play and if I got to come down and hit a safety or a lineman or what route I'm running. Other than that, if you just try to listen to all that other verbiage, then you'll be all confused out there. And at Florida, he just kept it simple. I mean, you might just have one word and everybody knew what to do.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So Jabar, what was your favorite place to play in the NFL?
My favorite team or like favorite stadium?
Well, let's say your favorite team that you played on. Which organization?
Favorite team had to be probably the Patriots.
Patriots, and I wanted to get to that because everybody's going to want to know what it was like to play with Tom Brady.
Oh yeah. Tom's cool, man. He's definitely one of a kind, and one of a kind on the field and off the field. He's a great teammate and a real good leader.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about him. That it didn't matter, obviously with all the success that he's had. A free agent kicker walks into the locker room, he treats him just like anybody else. Right.
He does. And I mean, just from the moment that he always meets and greets everybody with a smile and like he's been knowing you forever. And I mean, you can't say enough great things about that dude.
So what was your favorite NFL stadium to play in?
Jacksonville.
I like that place, huh?
I always love coming back and playing in that stadium. That's been my favorite stadium since I was growing up. I got to play there once in high school, played there twice in college, and got to play there my first 4 years. I played there every year when I was with Houston, which Jacksonville's in our division. So I always love going home and playing there.
Speaking of that, let's go back to college and you being a Jacksonville boy. How special was that Georgia game, being that you wanted to be a Georgia Bulldog too, going back to Jacksonville and being able to play in front of your hometown folks?
Oh, that was everything. That was everything. Getting to come home and play in front of my hometown folks and playing against Georgia, because I remember I told the guy that was recruiting me that if they don't offer me, that y'all gonna have to deal with me. And I wanted to make sure that they had to deal with me every time I stepped on that field.
We got a Facebook Live comment here brought to you by Meldon Law, where you matter most. Mary says, so glad Jabar got wise before it was too late and became a Gator. Good morning, Shane and Jabar. Yeah, we're glad you became a Gator as well. So Jabar, you played a long time in the NFL. You said, your favorite time was with the Patriots. Real quick, because we got a lot of people who follow the Tampa Bay Buccaneers that watch this show.
Okay.
How do you think Tom's going to do down there with the Bucs?
Oh, that's going to be scary. That's going to be scary this year. With that team and adding Brady and the other weapons that they've added, man, I don't know, they may be the first team to host and play in the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, he's got a lot of weapons around him. He's got some good skill guys, so it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out. Let everybody know what's Jabar Gaffney doing these days.
Just raising my kids, trying to get my son to get on this football field. So I'm down here doing that and dabbling in the real estate and stock market stuff, and so I try to keep my time free so I can spend more time with my kids down here and get them on through high school.
How often do you get back to Gainesville and watch any games?
Not enough. I drive through Gainesville all the time. I haven't been to a game in a while. I usually always make the Georgia game. That always be the only game I normally make. I got to get to Gainesville and get to some games this year, for sure, if we're allowed to.
Jeff has a question for you here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Meldon Law, where you matter most. He wants to know, does anything, and I'm assuming he's meaning another stadium, compare to the Swamp?
No, nothing compares to the Swamp. Nothing I played in college or the NFL compares to that Swamp. It's definitely one of a kind.
So when you look back at your college career, what was the one game / team that you look forward to playing each year?
Georgia and Florida State.
The teams you wanted to play for, right?
Right. I was always ready to play those two guys, man. They didn't want me down there, so I was always ready for that. And they were rival games. They were big games, and I mean that time they was like the big games of that week, and always national televised. So that was always a good game to make sure you show up for.
So think back to college. There's always that one when you're getting prepared to play whatever team it is or the entire year. There's always, because you know who the opponent defensive backs are going to be, and they're good ones in the SEC. There's no question. Was there one guy that just gave you fits in college that you're like, man, this guy, if he bumps me, I have trouble getting off the release, or there's always that one guy that gives you fits. Was there anybody in the SEC?
Nobody that I played against, all the SEC. I mean, we had great cornerbacks. I say the toughest guy that I had to go against was actually on my team is Robert Cromartie. Cromartie, I mean, he was tough, and I guess it was because we used to go up against each other all the time. So he kind of knew me a little bit. I knew him, so he gave me fits in practice, and that helped me in games.
Was there anybody in the NFL that you had problems with?
No, not a whole lot. Champ Bailey was tough.
Champ Bailey's damn good. It's a typical receiver. Nobody gave you any problems. I love it.
He always open. Nobody can stick us.
Always wide open, no matter what. Talk a little bit about Rex. Your college quarterback, which, man, that dude could sling the football, and probably should have won the Heisman that one year. Got screwed.
Yeah, right.
But just talk about his mentality. I think most people think he's like a gunslinger, but just talk about what it was like catching balls from him.
Rex is my dude, man, and that's one of my favorite quarterbacks ever. And he just got that mentality and just got that swag about him. Like We finna go out here and put up 50 every week, and can't nobody can stop us. He had full belief in all us on the offense, and we all had belief in him, and he was gonna go out there and he was gonna let it go. And he put his faith and trust in us that we were gonna catch it and get open, and that's what we did. And for me, me and Rex, we got to spend time together. Our true freshman year, we were on the practice squad together, so we were out there every day doing the same things that everybody got to see those 2 following years when we put it onto the field. And so that all that time and preparation we got to do on the scout team helped lead to what success we had on the field when it was our time to play.
So I'd like to ask all the guys that played for the head ball coach. I know you got some stories. You got a good Coach Spurrier story for us?
A whole lot of them, man. Spurrier, he's probably my favorite coach ever, and he just a straight down to earth guy. I mean, extremely funny. Extremely funny. He kept us laughing. Guess the biggest story would be like Spur's the one that got me going by Jabar, because in high school and growing up, my name is Derek. My first name is Derek, and I got to Florida, and he started calling me Jabar, and next thing you know is it's Jabar Gaffney, and no Derek Gaffney. And he had his little switches up on it, and he started calling me Jabber, Jabber and Jab, and those still some of the nicknames that some of the former players and just people everywhere call me now, because everybody done heard it. So I get called Jab all the time, and that all started with Coach Spurrier, the old ball coach.
That's funny. Yeah, that's typical him. There's no question about it. At Chris Doring Mortgage, they do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Well, Jabar, last thing for you. Have you been? Dan Mullen's been here for 2 years. He's kind of turned the program back around, winning ways. You know, they've won 21 games in 2 years, 2 major bowl wins. Hopefully we get to play this year. But what have you seen from what Dan Mullen's done in his 2 years here with the Florida program?
Oh, I'm loving it. He's turning it around, turning the culture around, and you can see by the way the players are playing and the wins they're putting up in the numbers now. And it's like he's bringing that old swag back to Florida, and looking forward to this year. I think last year, a play here, play there, and we're right there in the playoffs. And I think we could have did very well last year if we would have made it to the playoffs. And I think he'll have the team ready to go this year.
We got a final text here for you on the Titan MR text line. Larry wants to know, Jabar, what former Gator teammates do you stay in touch with the most?
Well, the player I stayed in touch with the most is, God bless the dead, was Riche.
Riche, yeah.
Fortunately, lost him, and that was who I stayed in touch with the most there. And still talk to some of the other guys, Kelvin Kite, Keywan, and some of the other guys that I played with. We all keep in touch, talking by way of Facebook.
Well, good deal. Well, man, we appreciate you taking the time to join us today on the show. Stay safe down there in Tampa, and hopefully we'll talk to you soon, my man.
Oh, thanks a lot. Have a good one. Stay safe.
All right, that's our man, Jabar Gaffney, number 10 for the Florida Gators. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. We're going to take a last time out of the program. When we come back, we're going to wrap this show up. But you're watching and listening to Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning from the Crime Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
Hey Gators, this is Coach Steve Spurrier. Pod Up with Matthews in the Morning. We'll be right back after this commercial break.
We want to take this moment to thank all our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our gridiron sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Area Rug Masters, your number one choice in Gainesville for all your area rug cleaning services. Meldon Law, where you matter most. Peachland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Our touchdown sponsors are Campus USA Credit Union, Celebration Point Town Center, The Digital Mortgage Guy, Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Center State Bank, Gator Bait Media, Davis Gainesville Chevrolet, Miapa Latin Cafe, Gators Dockside, Okido America Martial Arts and After School, Doreen Wiebe Realtor, Caldwell Banker MM Parish, Radware, Style Cuts, Wrap Spot, Ironwood Golf Course, TB Financial, Chris Doring Mortgage, Meadowbrook Golf Course, Darshakow Insurance, Pomodoro Cafe, MB Listings, Big Mills Cheesesteaks, Cornerstone Financial Group, McDonald's of Gainesville, My IT Master, 84 Lumber, and Gainesville Neon and Signs. If you are interested in promoting your business on the show, you can visit our website, potupwithshane.com, and click the Advertise button or call Freddie at 352-284-3733. Again, thank you for all the great businesses that support the show. Please remember, if you like what we are doing here, thank our sponsors and support the businesses that support us.
Welcome back to this Thursday edition of the program. It's Pod Up with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. I want to thank Kassidy Hill, who covers the Jags and the Gators, for joining us. Does a lot of work for Gator Great Media, and Buddy Martin and his crew. And I want to thank our man, Jabar Gaffney. That's funny that Coach Spurrier called him Jabar, and when he was going by Derek all the time. But that's typical HBC, no question about it. This Day in Sports is brought to you by The Best Restoration. Fires, hurricanes, or leaking pipes, whatever causes havoc in your home or business, call The Best at The Best Restoration, 352-353-0768. This Day in Sports, back in 2017, just a few years ago, the PGA Championship at Quail Hollow up in Charlotte. Justin Thomas wins his first major by 2 shots over Francesco Molinari, Patrick Reed, and Louis Oosthuizen. So that's brought to you by The Best Restoration. Don't forget Peachland Dentistry, Gator Nation's #1 choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte and surrounding areas. Visit them at peachlanddental.com. Rick says, I have woken up. I don't know about that, Rick. I'm sleepy, not sleeping good with the waiting to find out about football. And I woke up very early this morning for some reason. I'm a little tired, but no naps for me. I don't do naps. Wade says he's loved the show today. Thank you, Wade. That's brought to you by Meldon Law, where you matter most. Don't forget, tomorrow is Friday. We're going to wrap up the week with a great guest. We're going to have our man Johnny Cornell. JC will be back. I'm sure he'll want to talk hockey playoffs. He and about 2 other people, only one that really care. Just kidding. We're going to have Big Mac Starks, big offense lineman, 6'8", 375-pounder. Played here for the Gators, did a tremendous job, won a couple of Super Bowls with the Steelers, lives out in Arizona, does a lot of work for Sirius Radio, covering college and pro football. But I'm anxious to talk to Big Max. Next week, we've got a tremendous lineup for you as well. Let me see if I can get it here. We're going to have Coach Brian White, former Gator assistant under Urban Meyer, who's now out at Colorado State. We're going to have Chris Doring on the show. We're going to have my buddy Kyle Morris talking about what Kyle is doing these days. And he owns a golf course, believe it or not. As I mentioned, we're going to have Brian White. We're going to have Leon Searcy, big Miami Hurricane, played forever in the National Football League, but excited for next week's show. Make sure you tell your friends out there to follow us on Facebook Live. Check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Google Podcasts. Today's show is going to be a wrap, brought to you by Wrap Spot. Be safe out there, folks. Have a great, well, it's not Friday yet. So I was going to say have a great weekend, but we'll see you tomorrow. Same place, same time. Take care.